Stop sleeping too little or too much. Because at age 70, sleep is not just a rest but a natural medicine that helps the body recover. The mind is clear and the immune system is protected every day. When you don't sleep enough or sleep too much, the body's biological rhythm will be disrupted. The brain cannot reorganize information, leading to memory loss, prolonged fatigue, lack of concentration, and in the elderly, this also increases the risk of falls, depression, and even cardiovascular disease. So get enough sleep, on time and deeply. Quality sleep is the simplest but most effective way for you to maintain clarity, initiative, and a sense of security in every day of your life. Hello, I am not a doctor or a scientist, but a person who specializes in listening and accompanying the elderly, not only to share, but also to understand. I spend a lot of time learning about harmful factors and what is really good for the physical health, mental health, and memory of the elderly. My job is to help them understand themselves better, find healthy habits, and motivate them to live happily every day. Old age is not the end, but a stage where proper care can make a difference. And I am here to help you find healthy habits, positive ways of living, and inspiration to live happily, healthily, and meaningfully every day. First, I would like to invite you to listen to a short story about a person whose seemingly harmless habits have a great impact on their health and spirit when they get old. The story is not just for telling, but for us to ponder. Are our habits today silently taking away our health, clarity, or joy of life every day? Don't forget to click like, subscribe to the channel to follow the story. Now let's listen to Elaine's story. Elaine is 74 years old this year, living alone in a small house on the outskirts of Sacramento. That house used to be cozy and filled with laughter, the sound of her husband Jack's guitar, the sound of chairs being pulled out during family meals, the sound of children calling each other in the yard. Now, all those sounds are just memories. Jack died 6 years ago of a stroke. The children are grown, living in distant states, busy with their own jobs and families. Every week, she still receives a video call, short, hurried, and full of silence. Elaine doesn't blame anyone. She understands that her children have their own lives, busy with work, family, and the hustle and bustle of adulthood. But she still has a vague feeling, as if she is being left out of the family's daily conversations. No one is intentionally forgetting her, but everything is moving on, and she is standing still. After falling in the bathroom 2 years ago, she began to fear moving too much. She no longer dared to go far, was afraid to step outside, and even the small garden, which used to be a joy every morning, was gradually abandoned. The trees were still green, but the hands that tended them had withdrawn because of the fear of falling again. Her meals had also changed, not as rich as before. Just a few slices of bread, a piece of cold meat, a cup of black coffee to finish the meal. No green vegetables, no fruit. She used to cook very well, very skillfully, but now she just shook her head and whispered, "Eating alone, why cook so elaborately?" That's enough. Everything in her life gradually shrank from her steps, to her meals, and even her excitement for living each day. Her days began and ended in front of the TV that was on all the time, not to watch, but to fill the silence. Then her memory began to crack, at first with little things, forgetting appointments, misplacing her glasses in the kitchen cupboard, asking the same question 3 times in the same conversation. But then, one morning, as she was preparing tea, she stood in the middle of the kitchen, holding the kettle, unable to remember whether she had turned it on. The red light on the kettle came on as a reminder, not of boiling water, but of something deeper. She was no longer in control of herself. She sank into a chair and exhaled. A cold thought emerged. I am becoming a burden. No one told her that. But that feeling came naturally. From the times she forgot to turn off the stove, from the nights she slept sitting on the chair, because she couldn't remember if she had taken her medicine, from the calls she didn't want to pick up, because she was afraid of having to confess. Mom is so forgetful these days, honey. The feeling that she was no longer valuable, no longer a support for anyone, crept into every corner of her, silently, light as mist, but cold. The next afternoon, Lily, her niece from San Jose, came to visit. She didn't tell anything, didn't mention the water bottle, didn't talk about fear or forgetfulness. But Lily saw in her eyes, in her sitting posture, in the empty space where her voice used to be warm, now low, no longer warm and quick as before. Lily didn't ask, didn't blame. She just gently invited her to the small bookstore near her house. She chose a moss green cloth covered notebook for her, along with a purple ink pen. "Try writing down a few small things," she said. "How was the weather today? What did you eat? What time did you take your medicine? Or who called you?" Elaine held the notebook, silent. Something in her heart trembled slightly, but enough for her to nod. On the first page of the notebook, Elaine wrote in a shaky handwriting, "Tuesday, overcast. Take medicine at 9 o'clock. Lily came to visit." Just a few short, simple lines, but for her it was the first time in a long time that she remembered a specific day, a meaningful moment, and didn't let it pass quietly like any other day. The next day she opened her notebook again, this time writing another line, "Drink ginger tea. Remember to turn on the kettle before pouring the water." It was a gentle but profound reminder to herself, as if she were whispering, "I can still take the initiative to take care of myself." A few days later, the pages began to brighten, light yoga in the morning. The young teacher was lovely, spoke warmly. MS. Janet often laughed like a little bell. She not only wrote down what she had done, but also recorded her emotions, faces, people, and the colors of life that she began to reconnect with. Each line that MS. Elaine wrote was a slow but steady step. Each page seemed to pull her back to her life, in the gentlest way. The simple notes. At first, just small reminders of the time, of things to do, but gradually, each line carried a part of her memory, an old emotion, but a connection that she had forgotten during the dark days. At first, she wrote just to remember, but then she realized that writing not only helped her remember, but also helped her mind to wake up. Simple words, short thoughts seemed to pull her out of the dark areas, where she used to feel like she was drifting aimlessly, without end. She began to feel that she was no longer a part of the days that passed quietly, but was living again. That feeling came from the lines, from finding the initiative again, from realizing that she could still control a part of this life. She wrote about a peaceful day, about a morning with gentle sunlight, about a simple but delicious dish. Gradually, the notes were not only about time or work, but also about emotions, about the people around her, about the small but loving details that she used to ignore when her mind was no longer clear enough to realize. Writing made her no longer feel like she was drifting aimlessly, but she realized that she was reliving each day, each moment, more fully and completely. The lines, though simple, rekindled a fire in her heart, the fire of life, of belief in herself and in the days to come. Every time she looked back at the pages of her notebook, she not only saw reminders or plans, but also felt a sense of control and reconnection with life, where something she had lost over the years. Writing was not just a way to record things to do, but also a way for her to find herself again, step by step, day by day. Lily, her beloved granddaughter, noticed the change in her grandmother. She kept encouraging her to try new things, despite her initial doubts. One day, she held out her phone to her grandmother and said, "Try using your phone to set up medication reminders, text your kids, and try video calling." At first, her grandmother just shook her head. "I'm old. I can leave it alone." Her voice was gentle, but full of hesitation. She didn't object, just a little hesitant, a little self-conscious because she wasn't as quick as before. Years of living alone had gradually made her lose confidence in herself, feeling that she couldn't keep up with the pace of modern life. But Lily didn't give up. She patiently, gently guided her step by step, and finally she tried. She texted her granddaughter the first few short messages. "I miss you. I've scheduled my own medication." Every time she sent a text or video call, a small, quiet, but real glint of pride flashed in her eyes. Each time, a small bit of pride and joy blossomed on her face. She wasn't just learning how to use a phone, she was learning how to reconnect with others and with herself. Every video call, no matter how brief, made her feel like she wasn't alone anymore. And then she did it. 3 months later, at a family dinner, all the children and grandchildren gathered around. Elaine sat in the middle of the table. In front of her was a notebook that was now half full. There was a lot of laughter, but she didn't say anything. She just looked and smiled, gently stroking the cover of the notebook. When everyone was silent, waiting for her to say something, Elaine put her hand on the small notebook in front of her. She looked at each familiar face around her, from her son, daughter, to her grandchildren, and smiled softly. Her voice was slow, deep but warm. "At first I thought I was getting old. That meant everything would gradually disappear: health, memory, confidence, even the meaning of life. But then I realized it's not that I'm losing it, but I'm learning to live at a different pace, slower, simpler, but still complete. Simply put, it's a new way of life. And the important thing is, I'm no longer afraid of it." The room was still silent, but it was a loving silence, as if everyone was absorbing every word she said and seeing something so close, not just to old age, but to themselves at any age. If you are still listening to this, perhaps somewhere in your heart you are also wondering, am I like that? And if that question makes you feel sad, don't worry, because realizing is the first step to change. Keep watching this video until the end. Keep watching, because I am about to share with you something that seems small, but has a huge impact on your memory, health, and even your mood every day. That is the way you sleep. It sounds simple, but sleeping too little or too much can have serious consequences. Not only does it disrupt your circadian rhythm, making you tired for a long time, prone to falls, and impaired memory, but it also silently increases the risk of depression and cardiovascular disease, especially in people over 70 years old. So if you want to feel more alert in the morning, remember better in the afternoon, and live healthier every day. Start with sleep, as long as you are willing to start from today. Sleeping too little or too much, you may think you are used to. Sleeping 5 hours a night, or you may think it's okay to sleep 10 hours and still feel tired. But stop for a moment. Sleep is not simply a matter of closing your eyes and resting, but an important biological mechanism that helps the body recover, purify, and regenerate. First, sleeping too little, less than 6 hours. Elderly people often think I'm old. Sleeping less is fine. But the truth is that not getting enough sleep is more harmful than we think, because it can cause effects such as impact on the brain, causing short-term memory loss, forgetfulness, confusion, loss of concentration, slow reaction, easy confusion, but easy to fall, weakens the immune system, increases the risk of flu, infection, increases the risk of dementia, Alzheimer's, because the brain does not clean up toxins, such as beta amyloid, during sleep. Impact on the cardiovascular system is that sleeping less than 5 to 6 hours is associated with an increased risk of blood pressure disorders, high blood pressure, myocardial infarction, and stroke. The body secretes a lot of stress hormones, such as cortisol, causing the heart to beat faster and blood vessels to constrict. Sleep also affects the immune system. For example, sleeping less will reduce the ability to fight bacteria and viruses, leading to flu, pneumonia, and infections. And wounds and ulcers take longer to heal. It also affects emotions, such as easily falling into a state of anxiety, irritability, and mild depression. Loss of interest in activities that used to be favorite, leading to a decline in quality of life. Many elderly people have shared about this issue, such as Mr. Thomas. He used to think that getting old, sleeping less is okay, but in fact, prolonged lack of sleep has caused his memory to decline, his spirit to be tired, his heart to beat abnormally fast, and his body to be in a constant state of tension. It was only when the doctor clearly explained that adequate and deep sleep is an important medicine to protect the brain, heart, and emotions that he began to change and feel the difference every day. Mr. Thomas, 76, lives alone in a small apartment on the second floor of an apartment building. Since his wife passed away, he has been staying up late, sometimes sleeping only 3 or 4 hours a night. "I'm used to sleeping less," he often says. "I'm old, I don't need much sleep." At first, everything seemed fine. But then he started to forget. He forgot to turn off the stove, forgot whether he had taken his medicine, and once he even left the house without his keys. One morning, while making coffee, he mistakenly put salt in sugar. The salty taste on the tip of his tongue made him freeze. His hands shook, his heart pounded. The night before, he had only slept for more than 3 hours. The doctor said, "Your brain is not getting enough rest." Sleep is when the brain cleans up toxins. If you keep sleeping this little, not only your memory, but also your heart, immunity, and spirit will weaken. From that day on, he started to change, turning off the lights earlier, not watching TV too late, drinking a cup of warm tea before going to bed. And for the first time in many months, he woke up in the morning without feeling tired, without anxiety, without confusion about things he had forgotten. He sat by the window, watching the sunlight gently slant across the yard. In his heart, a sense of peace returned just because he had learned how to get enough sleep. Before we continue, please click the like button and subscribe to the channel. Who knows, that small action of yours may help many other elderly people find useful information, gentle advice, and a little motivation to live healthier every day. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you don't miss small but valuable tips to improve the quality of life, keep a sharp memory, and live happily and healthily no matter how much time passes. Now let's continue to learn with me to understand better, take better care, and live more fully in old age. Second, sleeping too much, over 9 to 10 hours. Some older people feel tired and choose to sleep in, but sleeping too much does not help the body recover and even carries many risks. Sleeping too much will reduce metabolism and increase fatigue. That is, the body does not function properly in its biological rhythm, leading to feeling more tired and less alert the more you sleep. Sleeping too much also increases the risk of disease. Many studies show that sleeping too much is associated with an increased risk of diabetes, obesity, and stroke. People who sleep too much have a higher rate of cognitive decline and depression than people who sleep enough. It also affects psychology and society. Loss of social connection due to no longer wanting to exercise, not participating in community activities. Feeling lazy and useless leads to self-consciousness, isolation, and silent depression. Last week, I had the opportunity to talk to an old lady named Margaret. She is 72 years old, lives alone, and used to think that sleeping a lot would help her body recover and reduce fatigue. But the more she slept, the more lethargic she felt, less willing to exercise, and gradually lost connection with the outside world. Her story made me realize sometimes it is the habits that seem harmless that silently take away our health, joy, and clarity every day. Margaret, 72, has hardly woken up early since she retired. At first she thought, just sleep a little longer, there's no rush. But gradually that a little became a habit, sleeping until 9 or 10 a.m., sometimes even waking up almost noon. Her body did not get better. On the contrary, she often felt tired, her mind was lethargic, and she felt sleepy after eating. Each day passed with a few trivial tasks. The rest was lying down or sitting still on the chair, eyes looking far away. When her friends invited her to go exercise, she refused. You wake up late. Why exercise anymore? Gradually, she became less sociable. She did not want to leave the house. She was no longer enthusiastic about chatting. One day, her daughter came to visit, sat down next to her mother and said softly, "You sleep so much, but why do you still look tired? Do you think you're happy?" Mrs. Margaret did not answer right away. After a while, she sighed softly, "I don't know either. I just see it every day, and then the day ends without me knowing." The doctor then explained, sleeping too much in the elderly can disrupt biological rhythms, reduce metabolism, and increase the risk of depression. Mrs. Margaret began to adjust her habits, waking up a little earlier, going to the garden to water the plants, eating breakfast regularly, taking a short nap, and taking a light walk in the afternoon. After just a few weeks, she felt different. Her body was less tired, her mind was more alert. And most importantly, she began to feel like she was alive again, not just existing through each sleep. So how much sleep is reasonable? How to have quality sleep after the age of 70? How much sleep is reasonable? According to the National Institute on Aging, people over 65 should sleep 7 to 8 hours a night. Sleep needs to be regular, on time, and of good quality, deep sleep, not waking up many times with a start. A short 20 to 30-minute nap can be good, but you should not make up for it during the day if you have trouble sleeping at night. And how to get quality sleep after the age of 70. Sleep on time, regularly every day. In going to bed and waking up at the same time every day helps the brain and hormones maintain a stable biological rhythm. Avoid electronic devices at least 1 hour before bed, as blue light from phones, TVs, and computers will reduce the production of melatonin, a hormone that helps you sleep well. Do not drink coffee or strong tea after 2 p.m. because caffeine stays in the body for many hours and can make it difficult to sleep even though you are sleepy. Do light exercise during the day, but avoid exercising close to bedtime. You can walk, do yoga, or do light yoga to help your body tire naturally and fall into a deeper sleep. In the evening, before going to bed, instead of trying to force yourself to sleep, while feeling restless, anxious, or tired for a long time, you can start with something very simple. Drink a cup of warm herbal tea such as chamomile tea, lotus heart tea, or a cup of warm milk. These drinks can help the body relax gently, stabilize the heart rate, and create a sleep signal for the brain. And one more small but effective tip, keep a notebook by your bed. Before you go to sleep, write down what's on your mind, an appointment you need to remember, something that's bothering you, or just how the weather is today. Write it down so your mind doesn't have to hold on to it. Write it down so your mind can relax. That's what Elaine did, and step by step, she found her sanity, peace, and connection with life. Thomas, who thought that sleeping less was normal, eventually realized that lack of sleep was silently impairing his memory, making him forgetful and tired all the time. Margaret, who thought that sleeping more would help her feel better, fell into a feeling of isolation, loss of motivation, and the more she slept, the more tired she became. But all three people, each in a different situation, had something in common. They changed by just very simple things like adjusting their sleep, listening to their bodies, and learning to relax their minds at the end of the day. And you can start like that too. It doesn't take much, just a cup of warm tea, a pen, and a few lines of honesty with yourself. Deep sleep doesn't just help you rest. It helps you recover your physical strength, enhance your memory, stay optimistic, and live a healthy life every day. You don't have to start by changing everything. Just choose one small thing and start tonight. You see, sometimes it's the little things like sleep, a notepad, or a cup of tea in the evening that can make a big difference in life after 70. We met Thomas, who thought getting old is okay until his memory started to crack and his heart rate became irregular. We also met Margaret, who slept too much in the hope of getting better, but then felt more tired and more distant from life outside. And we can't forget Elaine, who used to hide in silence until a small notebook helped her reconnect with herself line by line, day by day. All of these stories give us a gentle but profound reminder: getting old doesn't mean giving up. It's about learning to live at a new pace that's slower, gentler, and more mindful. And sleep is one of the first things you can adjust. No need for medicine, no need for anyone to remind you. Just love yourself a little more, listen to your body a little more, and start with the simplest things. A good night's sleep, a small piece of paper, a cup of warm tea. And then you will see, every new day can still start gently. In short, sleep plays an extremely important role in the health of the elderly. Changing your sleeping habits from getting enough sleep, on time, and deep sleep can bring about positive changes, helping to improve the quality of life, improve memory, cardiovascular and mental health, and reduce the risk of serious diseases. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to follow the next useful videos. We will always be with you, bringing tips and knowledge to improve the quality of life every day.